Hi, my name is Ariana Bretschker. I'm the CEO and founder at Aquacycl, and welcome to Wastewater Wednesday. So today we're going to dive into Scope 1, 2, 3 emissions, everybody's favorite topic. So from an industrial perspective, right now you're now required to report on greenhouse gas emissions. Now, it's been a requirement to report on Scopes 1 and 2, but 3 is coming fast and furious. So let's talk about the definitions of what is Scope 1, 2, 3, and then let's dive a little bit deeper into 3 and how wastewater can play a role. So first off, Scope 1 is your direct emissions. So all the stuff that you're pumping into the air from your facility while you're producing something. Scope 2 is all of the energy purchase emissions. So all of the energy that comes to powering your plant and the emissions footprint associated with that energy. Scope 3 is now everything that's upstream or downstream in your value chain. So that's all of your vendors, your farmers, your transportation, your packaging. All of these things have a carbon footprint, which is much more challenging to quantify, to mitigate, and ultimately to control and minimize over the long term. Now, how does wastewater play? Well, wastewater plays into Scope 3 in a couple of different ways. First off, every production facility generates wastewater. You have to do something. You have to manage it according to your permit, so you stay within compliance. But you may also have some specific sustainability goals around water as well. Now, all that aside, right, there's 2 ways to deal with your wastewater that you generate. You could treat it, or you can haul it somewhere else so somebody else can treat it. Now, treatment can happen on-site or at a centralized facility. If you are discharging to a centralized treatment facility, you're permitted to discharge to a sewer. What's going to happen is all of that wastewater goes to that treatment plant. There's a certain amount of energy that's required to treat that water. That's easily quantified. In the treatment of that water, right, you're going to consume a lot of that energy. You're also going to generate a lot of sludge. Sludge is a secondary byproduct that has to be hauled off. There's a carbon footprint in the hauling, depending on the distance. And they're hauling it to a landfill where that sludge is ultimately going to break down and create more emissions. And there's also a carbon footprint with that. So there are not only just the energy for treatment, but also moving and the breakdown of the sludge associated with sewer discharge. So you got to think about that for Scope 3. Next is, if you're not connected to a sewer and you don't have on-site treatment, you may have to haul your volume of wastewater somewhere else, and either to a landfill, land application, or to an alternative treatment facility where everything that we just talked about happens. Now, if you're adding another hauling aspect, right, that means you're hauling water, just heavy, and you've got a big carbon footprint on the transportation, and then you've got land application, which means more emissions in terms of the breakdown of sludge, and if you take it to another facility, right, you got everything that we just discussed. So that's a pretty big carbon footprint, but there are a lot of models that you can use that can very accurately quantify each step in these processes. Now, while these are complex and potentially fairly large in terms of Scope 3 emissions, it's also a large opportunity because you can treat this wastewater also on site in a low energy footprint, so it's carbon neutral, as well as a sustainable way in terms of water reuse using efficient technologies such as Aquacycl. So from an industrial pretreatment perspective, we can provide a reduction in Scope 3 emissions and also a reduction in Scope 1 and 2 because we only require 65 kilowatt hours a day to actually treat the massive loads that come out of industrial discharge. So go to aquacycl.com to learn more.